Hi, everybody, and welcome to a PAX recap. Okay. I went to PAX Unplugged 2019. Let me pull up Twitch to make sure this is all okay. I know it's a lot of my face. I know that's usually not the case on even the videos of just me talking. Okay, perfect. I got chat up on my phone in case anybody drops by. But if not, this is going to be a fairly casual chat, reflection, recap, whatever you want to call it, of PAX Unplugged 2019. Man, I don't even know where to begin. My brain is still a little mush from PAX Unplugged 2019. Let me just start by saying I had a great time. And the best part was for sure meeting my Laughing Dragon Inn friends. Cece came in, Timothy and Liz came in. Marty, I know Marty in person, but he came out, and we all hung out for a bunch over the weekend. And yeah, that was just by far the best part. I'll just say that now. And it was interesting to compare my PAXs and my previous. The screen was the glare. That was I was like, what is this glare? Liz is in chat, and she did indeed. She's confirming. So believe me, won't you? But yeah, I had a great time. I think they all had a great time. My one regret is that we did not get to play a game all together. We all got to play games with each other and in various pairings. I know Liz and Timothy got to play in one of CC's Acquisitions Incorporated D&D games that she was running. I got to play with Marty as a player. I was a player at an Ack Inc. game. Timothy was at one of my tables for an Ack Inc. game. And then Garrett, Ramrod Dude, Ariel from Star Chasers, ran a game for CC, Timothy, and Liz called Beyond the Wall, I think. And they described that to me, and it sounded really cool. I'll have to check it out. But Marty and I bounced. Or no, I had a game, and Marty had left early that night because PAX is exhausting. And we take the train in because we live out not in Philadelphia, we just live near Philadelphia. So we have an hour train ride in every morning and night. So the downside is you miss some of these like late night gaming sessions where, you know, you can go to 11:30 and then take an Uber or walk the 5-10 minutes to your hotel and just crash. I'd love to be able to do that. I might look into that in the future. But I'll talk about the future of PAX. At the end, let me talk about the past of PAX. The PAXed. I'll show myself out. PAX Unplugged started in 2017. And I went the first year, and I hated it. Did not have a very good time. It was unorganized. My friends didn't have a good time, which led to me not having a good time. And certainly, I enjoyed parts of it. The Dice Camera action game that was there is among my favorite episodes of that show before the Reckoning, before it got canceled. The live show there was great. It had Pat Rothfuss. It was super good. And yes, this is my PAX lore drop, Liz. And so I enjoyed aspect. I got a picture with Chris Perkins. Like, that's a highlight. That was a highlight for sure. And definitely things I enjoyed. But I went to play Dungeons and Dragons because I had never been to a con before. A gaming con. I've been to comic book conventions. I'd never been to a gaming con before. And I was like, I want to play with people I've never played with before. That was before I had a stream where I got to play with people I had never played with before. But now those people are my friends. So going to a con... Anyway. So I went, and the Dungeons and Dragons area was a disaster. Like, there just wasn't enough space. There wasn't enough volunteers. The lines were always crazy long. You didn't pre-register for any games. You just got in line 2 hours ahead of time and hoped they had a spot at, like, the maybe 30 tables in a cramped little hot room where you couldn't hear anything once you did get playing. And then, I did play 2 games that weekend. I played, like, an hour-long session that the DM was a friend of mine from the internet, actually. Sean, who's a great guy. He crammed it into an hour. And then I got to play another game later. I can't remember if he ran. I don't think he ran that one. But he might have. It was a long time ago. It was 2 years ago, and I can't remember who ran it. But it was the same adventure, but I got to see how it fully played out, which was nice. And I just played 2 different characters. I was during the Tomb of Annihilation storyline, so it was all Portnai and Zaru stuff. But there was a lot of line waiting, and it was generally just disorganized. The main theater was on the showroom floor, which was so dumb because the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia is massive, and it has really nice rooms that you can use as theaters, specifically above the Jefferson Station entrance. And that's what they used the second year. But the first year, and Mike and Jerry, because we went to the either the Q. No, it was a Q&A. I didn't go to make a strip. It was the Q&A. And we could occasionally hear, like, the tournaments were behind us, and you could occasionally just hear, like, yeah, like, erupting in applause and stuff like that. And Jerry and Mike were just like, never again. Like, we're having some words with people. Because, yeah, it was ridiculous. There was just a curtain dividing it. But PAX Unplugged 2017 was, like, laughably small compared to what it becomes next year. And half of the floor space that was used for just the main hall this year was like the full con in 2017. Like, if you went where that divider goes up where the expo hall ended, that floor space was like the entire con. That's where the theater was, that's where tournaments were, that's where free play was, that's where the expo hall was. And then they didn't use it this year, but the hallway from the Jefferson Station entrance, those rooms were used too. And then the hall at the end, like where there's like a big window space, that was used for like will call and a little cafe and stuff like that. But yeah, the first year was I was just like, I just waited in lines to do stuff all day. There were some great panels I went to, and that was the one thing I missed this year, was I didn't really get to go to any panels. But they're all online. Like, I can just watch them all online. You can see my head in one of the 2017 panels. It was like Gaming Online or something like that. It was a great panel. It's what inspired me to stream. And I quoted it a lot sort of at the beginning. Adam Coble had some very, very good advice in that stream, and I really took it to heart. And plenty of other people too. He's just, his advice always sticks out to me. But yeah, I did that. Like, I did a bunch of panels. I walked the expo hall floor because it was a lot smaller and easier. But, on day 1 or 2, the Critical Role people were there, and my Marty and Mary, who was on the ODRA miniseries. Liz, if you want to check out that panel, I will remind me, and I will post it in general chat, and maybe I'll post it on Twitter again too. I loved it. Like, I sat through it, and I was just like, this all makes so much sense. Like, this is also good. And I rewatched it again, like, as soon as it came online. I think I watched some bootleg version of it first. But But so on the first day, or whatever day Critical Role was there, my Marty and Mary went to go do all the Critical Role stuff. But they essentially waited in line for it all day. Like 6 hours of their day was line panel, line autograph session. And it was worth it for them, but I was just like alone for all of it. And we had one other friend who came, and his girlfriend was supposed to come. She just kind of ended up bailing. I think she came to the floor for like an hour, like total over the whole weekend. And he was not having a good time, so he left. And I was just left alone to kind of wander, and it was boring. I just didn't I wanted to be there with my friends, and the way that the con worked out, I just wasn't for a lot of it. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to go the next year. Like, if you would ask me, like, the next day, would you do that again? I would have been like, no, absolutely not. But as PAX Unplugged 2018 started to come around, I was like, well, a lot of the complaints I had, other people had. Like, I wasn't alone. And they posted all about them. Like I went to the Penny Arcade forums and Reddit and stuff like that, and was like, would find threads like the problems with PAX Unplugged. And it was all the same stuff I thought. So I was like, well, hell, like if they address this stuff, I'll have a good time. Because, again, I enjoyed parts of it. I just didn't enjoy the overall experience. But my friends were all turned off, understandably. None of them really had a good time. I was the only one who got to play Dungeons & Dragons. Like, they never got a space. And I just lucked into one space because by Sunday, it was running more smoothly. And I just sat in line I still sat in line for like an hour and a half. But, so 2018, I was like, I'm going. But I'm going to guarantee I have game space. So I volunteered to Dungeon Master. 1, I prefer to Dungeon Master than to be a player. 2, I have guaranteed slots. 3, my badge is comped. Awesome. Like, done. So I did that. I ran one Adventurers League adventure and one con adventure. Both were pretty good. I wasn't crazy familiar with Adventurers League because they had a bunch of rule changes. So I was kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna go on the honor system. Like, everybody, I trust you all know what you're doing. We'll figure it out. It's gonna be fine. And then my last game was canceled, which was good because I was not prepared for it because I just didn't understand how the module was laid out. I kept reading it. It was like, I don't understand where anything is or what they're supposed to be doing. But that game was canceled because it was during the same slot as Acquisitions Incorporated Live. And so I was sitting there waiting for players. I just see like half the room fill in, and then the enforcer kind of looks at me and like shrugs, and I was like, I'm going to go find an admin and see if I can just go home. So I just went home because I was tired. That's the other thing. You just get wiped. Because you're walking all day and you're kind of, and the other thing is you're engaging people all day. And if you're dungeon mastering, you're shouting over a crowd. And I am by nature an introvert. So being around people, can be draining. It's not that I don't like it or I can't do it, because I'm going to these cons. I do like and enjoy them. It just makes you tired. At least me. It just drains my brain. But, pardon me. The second year, I went alone. And but I had a much better time. But I missed my friends being there. So the con was a lot better and better organized, and I saw a bunch of panels that were really awesome. And I didn't have to wait in as many lines, and I got a bunch of signatures from people I really liked. I bought some nice merch. I, walked the expo hall floor and, got to do that. I did get to meet up with, Power Score RPG Sean, who used to be on our Star Chasers. Garrett, that's where I first met Garrett. Shauna, who I knew from... Well, I knew her from Sean's stuff, but I'm trying to remember if I'd been on anything with her yet. I don't... Boy, now I can't remember. No, because I don't think I had done Waffle Talk yet. No, because I did Waffle Talk. It's not important. I met Shauna. And I met a bunch of other... I met a bunch of the Dungeon Academy kids. Kids. I'm old. I met Dylan. So... Yeah, and that was great. That was really fun. We had dinner together. Like, it was really fun and nice. But it was... I didn't hang out with them the whole time. I'd kind of run into them and we'd hang out and we'd, chat on the Discord and be like, hey, where are you going? Are you going to go do this? And, but I got to play games. I did not like the room the games were in because it was just an open room with a bunch of tables in it. You had a scream over, and it was like 1,000,000,000 degrees in there. And it was bigger than last year, or than 2 years ago, but not nearly as big as what it became this year. And again, I will talk about what I think the future of PAX will be because I am concerned about next year because of their date choice. But generally, the role-playing game stuff was better organized. Now, granted, because I had no immediate... I keep saying I had no friends there. I did have friends there. I just didn't have kind of my immediate group. I didn't know anyone who was trying to play a game of Dungeons & Dragons, so I don't know how it worked on their end. It's great on my end, because I just sat at my table, read my adventure, and then ran it. Or, well, I ran it beforehand, but you know what I mean. But it seemed like it just generally worked a lot better last year, and this year, it definitely seemed like it worked better, and it didn't. It's not a perfect system, but it's getting better every year. So, that was last year. I did it, and I had a great time. So this year, I was like, I'm doing it again. Like, I'm just doing it again. If my friends can't go, that's okay. I will have enough to do that I'll be okay. And it was the first year back to the first year. I got to play games with the shut up and sit down guys, and that was like I love those guys. And that was like top tier for me. Like that was by far the best experience. That and the Dice Gamer Action live show were the two best parts of that con. And I didn't get to play long with the shut up and sit down guys because I was tired and I had to catch a train. Because I think that might have even been like the last train of the night. I was just like, I can't not. No, I think there was one more because Mary stayed later than me. Because Mary played with us too. Because she actually that year won a badge from them, which was fun. But yeah, they were just they're just the nicest guys. I had to earlier this year I was trying to reconsolidate some of my ongoing subscriptions, and I've been there. It's not a Patreon, but it is essentially a Patreon. Since they started it, because I just love, and I actually, is it in my pocket? No, it is. And like you used to get perks and stuff, but then they switched to, because I'm sure they weren't making any money actually on it. They were just putting it all into the perks. They switched to just an email, and I had to cancel it earlier this year. And Matt was absolutely lovely about it and kept me on the email chain. And they just are the nicest, coolest guys. But the other thing is, I'm not as into board games as I used to be. I am now pretty much focused on role-playing games. So, it's just one of those things where it's just like, I love these guys, but I want to cut it to refocus some of my, you just change. But, my little, I have Laughing Dragon and business cards that I'm going to remake next year because they have my name on them. You can't see. They have my name on them. I want to be able to give them to anyone who comes. Like if Liz comes again, Marty, so that if they want to hand them out, they can, and it's not Andy Hatton, Dungeon Master. It just says Laughing Dragon Inn. Here's our Twitter, Twitch, YouTube info. These also technically have the website on them, which we don't really update so much anymore. So you can't tell. Oh, yeah, you can. I markered them out. But honestly, I picked a pretty decent color. So at first glance, you can't really tell. But give it a couple of these this year. But Liz gave one to Amy Falcone. So that was awesome. Pardon me. Pardon me. Fuzz in my beard. Fuzz in my beard made me lose my train of thought. This year. Last year, my highlights were all the Dice Gamer Action stuff. And all the signatures I got. Yeah. Oh, and meeting everyone. Jesus. Brain's dead. Oh, yeah. Ramrod's in chat now. I also gave Garrett one. Yeah. We networked. I networked slightly. Can't remember if I gave Shauna one. I gave Garrett a pin. I made pins, too, of Soup's Laughing Dragon Inn logo, and then I gave everybody new emote pins. Because in our Discord, we have emotes for all of Homebrewed, all of Bar Crawl, all of Task Force Unlikely, all the Star Chasers, Vianti, and Dance Lap. I think that's everybody. And Gary. Gary the Ox has an emote. But, yeah, so, phone's freaking out. That was last year. This year, the highlight was just by far meeting Liz, CC, Timothy in person. And hanging out with Marty again, because he didn't come last year, so it was nice for him to come this year. And, yeah, so this year, I didn't do nearly as many panels as last year. But, one, all the panels I wanted to see just happened to line up with when I was DMing. So I was like, fine, I guess I can't go to any of these. But also, the con was just so much bigger that I didn't feel like I needed to go to panels to fill time. Like, I spent time either dungeon mastering, hanging out with my friends, or Expo Hall. Oh, thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Ramrod. I gave him a little, LDI pin. I mentioned that, and he said he's going to wear it every year. Thank you very much. I'll go through some of the stuff I got as well this year. I think it's a smaller haul than last year, but I'm more excited about it, I think. In a way. Last year I got a lot of Call of Cthulhu stuff, which I like and I'm happy about, but that was more like I should have this purchase more than I'm really looking forward to this. Again, I like it and I was looking forward to it. But it was very much I am a role-playing game person. I should have the other popular role-playing game. I should have Call of Cthulhu. And they're beautiful books. Chaosium puts out beautiful books. Even though I don't always love their system or design, their books are amazing quality-wise. And they're always cheaper at cons. At least on the last day, they're at least $5 off. And I did get one this year because I love their Alone series. I played Alone Against the Flame earlier this year, earlier this year or late last year on stream, and I had a blast with that. So I got Alone Against the Dark, which is a much bigger book. I'm going to turn out all the lights on some Monday, and I'll start a series of Alone Against the Dark. Yeah, Liz is saying the same thing about panels. They just conflicted this year. It was a bummer. And the other panels, I'd love to see Ack Inc. live, but I'm just not waiting in line. Like, you gotta go up there 2 hours early, and I had a game this year. Which I thought would be canceled because I was DMing an Acquisitions Incorporated game during Acquisitions Incorporated, but a lot of people played Ack Inc. without seemingly being too familiar with it, which isn't a bad thing. It's a great thing, but I'll talk about that again in a second. So yeah, this year was very focused on friendship to me. Like, that is my biggest takeaway. Like, we hung out a bunch, and it was great and, like, really refreshing. And there were only a couple times where I was, like, alone. And that was also... there's value in that. I got to kind of cruise the expo hall floor and grab a couple things I wanted. You get, like, efficient shopping done when you're with your friends, but, like, when you're alone, but when you're with your friends, you kind of talk and can point at stuff and either be like, what is this? Or like, oh, that's really cool. Like, have you ever heard of that? You know, when we were walking by the Cobalt Press booth, I pointed out to Timothy that Tome of Beasts had a new, like a pocket version, which if that's not on their website, if that's only available at cons and you don't have the Tome of Beasts from Cobalt Press, holy crap. The pocket version is like, it's like, it's more like this size. Crap. It's more like this size. So it's still thick, but it's a lot smaller than the giant ass, super heavy hardcover. So it's more like that. And it's like $22 versus $50. And the Tome of Beasts is an awesome monster book. Cobalt Press makes really nice third-party D&D products. So if you don't have the Tome of Beasts, here's my ad for getting the Tome of Beasts Pocket Edition. And if they do the same thing for Creature Codex, do it, because they're really quite good monster books. But yeah, walking around, I got Dark Matter when I was talking to Liz about it, because we kind of... I passed by the booth earlier, and the guy gave me a pitch, and I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds kind of cool. But then for whatever reason, when I was standing there with Liz, like, we got a better pitch, and like we kind of looked at each other and was like, well, that does sound really rad. So I picked that up, and we helped, it's nice. It's nice both ways. It's great to experience the con as many ways as you can, with your friends, do it alone. There was a time where everyone else was in the C team, and I was walking the expo hall floor, and I got about 3/4 of the way done, and I was just like, I'm done. Like, I need to just be alone. And I went to the quiet room, the AFK room, which was amazing. They picked the perfect place for it. It was just far enough away from the con where it was silent in there. But it wasn't so far that you had to like walk forever. It was just quiet, and there were volunteers in there if you wanted to talk. There were like relaxing little activities, and I just sat there for 20 minutes and recharged, and then Liz and Marty found me, and then we went to the expo hall floor, and we got Timothy back. And that was great because, I had already looked at everything kind of like painstakingly, so you can kind of like go through and see what they want to talk about, and all that stuff. Yeah, Liz wants to be a goldfish. I'm going to talk about Dark Matter, because that was 1,000% what sold me on that book. Yeah, the first pitch I got was all like, space combat's very interesting, and I'm like, boring. I can be a goldfish in a diver costume? Fucking awesome. So most of my weekend was dominated by running games for the Roll Initiative Acquisitions Incorporated. which I think went okay. If I've noticed anything about the roll initiative, is typically it's a bit of a mess Friday, it's better Saturday, it's clockwork Sunday. And I think a lot of that is simply the fact that it's two different volunteer forces. It's the roll initiative volunteers and enforcers. And you're meshing two different volunteer forces, and that makes things inherently difficult. It's no one's fault, but I think I assume it's PAX mandated that enforcers manage lines and other volunteers can't. If that is true, it's a dumb rule, in my opinion, because it would be much smoother if TRI could just do it themselves. Because the first couple days, I didn't get players for like half an hour. One of my games was just canceled. I was just like, okay. But the adventures were fun. Almost all of my players were good. Although it was interesting how many people signed up for Acquisitions Incorporated who weren't really that familiar. I was a little surprised by that. Not that new people, they weren't new to D&D, and not that they weren't familiar, but that they would sign up for it. Like, I kind of just figured they would go to Adventures League, but I think all the Adventures League was higher level tier stuff. So the low level tier was AC Inc., but I would also ask every table, oh yeah, sorry Garrett, I missed the thing on dates. I do have opinions on those dates, and I'm going to talk about them in a minute. I don't like them. I think it's a bad call. But I would ask every table. I was like, is everyone familiar with D&D? Almost everyone was. I think I had one player. I had one couple who were like, this is our second game. But they clearly watched Critical Role or Acquisitions Incorporated or something because they knew enough that they were fine. Like, even if they had never played before, they were widely familiar, or they were really fast learners because they picked it up. He was on top of things. He was asking for clever things, like making clever moves, using spells cleverly. But I would ask the table, does everyone know what Acquisitions Incorporated is? And everyone would nod. And I'd be like, what's your company role? And they'd be like, I have no idea what that is. And I was like, so you're not familiar with Acquisitions Incorporated. That's fine, but you're not familiar. So then I had to explain the roles, which is hard because I didn't have the book in front of me. So I'm like rattling them. Because I know the main ones. And then like they added a bunch that aren't really on the C team. And I was just like, a secretarian is like human resources, kind of. The one table, my last table, I was like, what is everyone's corporate role? And the one guy looked at me like, we're interns. We don't have corporate roles. I was like, oh, yes, you do. He's like, no one else has asked for them. I was like, well, that's weird. But then I kind of rethought through the adventure. I was like, I don't need them in this adventure. So I don't really feel like spending half an hour explaining and getting everyone's corporate role when we could be playing the adventure, and that's much more fun. So I was just like, we'll just play the adventure. And we had a great time. I think that was my favorite table. The franchise, I did the Epic, and it was fun, but I don't know if I'd want to do it again. It was stressful because it's a lot of input and kind of managing a lot at once, and there's like table interactions, and you're getting messages from the admins, and I just think it was not my speed. Yeah. But I got swag for running from them. I got a free badge. You can check my Instagram for more on the swag I got. I won't go through that here. It was pretty solid. Although the one D&D Beyond code was for a book I already have, which is just a bummer, but I gave it to Marty, so he'll make good use of it. But I got a coupon code, which is nice. I got some t-shirts. I got a cool pin. I got a little notebook that I really like. Weirdly enough, I think the notebook was the thing I was most excited about. It's like a $2 notebook, I'm sure. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is so cool. But yeah, and that was pretty. And then, like I said, I mostly hung out with my friends. I went to one panel animating Dungeons and Dragons, which was good, but I had to cut out early, and I almost tripped and fell and died trying to get out of the aisle because it was packed. And I caught the end of the D&D Presents panel, which I was really bummed to have missed all of because I'm super excited for D&D Presents. I cannot wait. I've missed Chris Perkins DMing real bad, and I don't know a lot about the other two, Mika and Shady, but I liked them on the panel. I think I've seen Mika in something before, and I remember liking her. And Shady Penguin, at the end, he tells, like, someone asked, like, what's your most heartbreaking D&D story? And the way he, like, reacted and, like, was like, okay, hold on. Like, okay. Like, he got so animated and into it so much already. I was like, I like you. I can tell I'm going to like you. Like, it just immediately endeared me to him, the way he reacted. So I have to go back and watch the beginning of that panel because I want to know more. But I'm just crazy excited for Chris Perkins and Anna and Nate to be back. So let me talk about the future of PAX, and then I'll go through the stuff I picked up. So next year, they've already announced the dates, and instead of the weekend after Thanksgiving, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. And here's the other thing. PAX has taken place on 3 different weekends. Which is frustrating when you're trying to plan it ahead. I didn't like that it was in December this year. It just felt too late, and the weather is going to be so unpredictable in Philadelphia. You know, everyone could have gotten snowed in or out. Like, it's December. Granted, it can happen in November. A couple years ago, we had, like, our worst snowstorm on Halloween. So it's always going to be a little unpredictable, but you're hedging your bets a little bit if it's earlier in November. But the weekend before Thanksgiving, it might be hard for me to get off of work because I got off of Friday because I went Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I took off Friday so I could do that. I took off Thursday so I could prepare. I took off today because if I didn't, I would be absolutely worthless at work today because I was worthless yesterday and I didn't sleep great last night. That's irrelevant. But so next year I'm like I'm gonna have to like race to get that day in. It's so close to the holiday that are people gonna be able to travel for it? Like, it's the weekend before. Like, if people have to travel for Thanksgiving, are they gonna want to travel to Philadelphia and then go to Thanksgiving? And it's the same weekend as a different board game convention, but that was true the first year. But the first year was the lowest attended. So did that negatively impact it, or was it just the first year? Like, I'm not smart enough to know these things or to analyze them. But to me, it wouldn't just be that it's the first year. It would be that it's the first year, and I always go to Board Game Geek Con. So no, I'm going to go to the one I know. And if they, missed out the first year, didn't go the second or third, and then are just like, oh, well, I heard it got really good last year, but it's the same week as Board Game Geek Con. And I always go to Board Game Geek Con, so I'm going to go to that one. But also, it's the same weekend as the Philadelphia Marathon, which is going to be a nightmare logistically. One, the marathon takes up parts of the convention center, and if they want to keep expanding, which they expanded so much between years 2 and 3, but my Marty and my running joke throughout the whole thing was, did you know the convention center was this big? Because legitimately, I did not know it was that big. I went to parts I had never been to before. I went to the front of the building for the first time. I even going in the back entrance like a bumpkin. I didn't know that. I thought that was the front entrance. And then, we're directed to Broad Street. And I was like, why do we have to go to Broad Street? That's so dumb. And I turned the corner, and there's like this amazing like glass, front of a building. There's a big placard and a big sign. I'm like, oh, it's the front of the building. That's why we have to go here. But yeah, the whole weekend we were just like, did you know it was this big? You had to walk, like, I took over I can't remember if it was one day I took like 15,000 steps or something like that. Like, if you want to walk from one end of the convention center to the very other end, it took like 10, 15 minutes. Like, it's a lot, and then it's multi-leveled. It went up to you had to ride the world's tallest escalator to get to the theaters, which were in a great location this year because they were kind of away from everything. They were away from everything last year too, but they were bigger. I heard Main Theater was huge. I didn't get to go into it this weekend. But so I don't love its placement. I'm worried about it. I thought this year was good numbers wise. It was crowded, but not too crowded. Like they expanded enough that it didn't feel too crowded, in my opinion. It was still crowded. Saturday especially was nuts. But Friday and Sunday were nice and manageable to me. And Saturday is usually my least favorite day because it's so crowded. So my other complaint was I didn't manage my RPG schedule enough. So that was the reason why I couldn't see panels. And that was the reason why, I didn't get to... Yeah, ladies in chat, it took us 3 days to figure out where the Leviathan Theater was. Yeah, because that's right. That was by the AFK room that we just kind of walked down the hallway and we're like, oh, there's theaters over here. Or yeah, I didn't go to RPG Free Play until Saturday night at like 8. No, 6. Like 6. But still, like, I was in that part of the building all day, and I didn't go there until the second day. But there was so much free play space. And it wasn't all being used, which is awesome. Like, it was just, we got a table, which was one of our biggest complaints the first year. I bought masks year 1. And we were walking around going, let's play masks. Okay. There's no place to sit and play masks. This sucks. And then they fixed it the next year, and it was even better this year, where we went into the quiet. It wasn't that quiet, but it was quieter. We went into the quiet RPG free play or just free play room, and we just sat kind of in the corner. We ended up just talking, but like we totally could have broken out a D&D game. Someone was trying to summon Cthulhu behind us. They were chanting the whole time, but we totally could have played D&D or Beyond. I'm pretty sure that's where they played Beyond the Wall later that evening. What was my point? It was big. Anyway, long story short, great time had by all. Oh, I want to manage my schedule better next year. I don't know if I'm going to volunteer with TRI again. I didn't have a bad experience, but I didn't have the best experience. It was a lot, and they expected a lot of you, which is fine. You're volunteering for a lot. But I think the other thing is, I think a lot of the people who do volunteer, that is what their con is. That's what they want to do, and I want to be able to do both. I want to be able to run a game and see my friends and be able to visit the expo hall and do panels, which maybe means I just need to not sign up for a badge level. Maybe I need to sign up for like 2 games. So I had fun. I did have fun running the games. I love running the games, and it's guaranteed slots. But I also talked to the Tuesday night game guys, and they seemed... First of all, they were rad. And they seemed really into the idea of getting organized people to play games there next year, so I might do that. Liz said they did play in the quiet game room, and Ramrod said they weren't so quiet. Let me know in chat if you're hanging out in chat. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything else or share something you liked or didn't like about PAX. But I'm going to start talking about the stuff I picked up. I'm gesturing to it over here that you can't see. I'll show it to the camera. You can see more of this stuff on my Instagram, but I this way I can talk about it a little bit more, and it'll be good. So let me do the first things first. I got a set of these, but I'm not going to show you all of them because they're all like this. They're just different dice. But I got this set of dice. Oh, you can't. Let me see. Ah, crap. Where's my light remote? It's not quite doing that. Go to my Instagram. That's a better picture. They're like gold, or they're like purple and glittery, and they're a little see-through. And they have like bright blue numbers. And I was between a couple different dice from this place, and I liked 2 of them, and I rolled both of them, and I just looked at the one, and I was like, boy, those numbers just pop. And that's something I've more recently been looking for in dice is, are you easy to read? Because I'm old. But, like, I really like these dice. They're white, but they're a little hard to read because the numbers are gold, and they don't stand out great. So if it's, like, way over there, I just rolled it kind of at the edge of my box, and I'm like, I know it's a teen number, but I can't tell which one. It's 19. I thought it's an 18 from back here. But this, I can just read it a lot better. It's not quite as like easily readable as, like, say, this one, which is a dark die with bright white numbers. But this die rolls like shit. So 3. It gets a 3 more than anything else. I gotta weigh those. I don't think they're weighted. Are my players in trouble? Let me switch to this die. But I typically collect purple dice. Purple and green are kind of the ones I collect. And then every once in a while, I'll see something kind of like stunning. Like, I'll get other stuff that like fits kind of the aesthetic if it's like gray or black. But I try not to stray like too much color wise. And if I really like them, like I have a set of bright like construction vehicle yellow with black numbers on them. Because I was like, they're just like bumblebee dice. And I was just like, these are different and they pop and they go into my players. Do you need dice? Here you go. Collection. Because I like to bring those to cons with me. But I've decided that every year I will get a set of dice. I am not a dice hoarder. Mary, for instance, has, that giant bag you can buy from Amazon that she dumps out every time she plays and picks out the D20s that she needs. There was at some point we were looking around and there was like it was like an inflatable unicorn filled with dice, and I'm sure that was someone's dream, and to me I was just like, but they're not color coordinated, you don't get a full set, like, 'cause you just got a random scoop of them. And that to me, I was just like, no, my poor coordinated heart. So I'm not a dice hoarder, but I'm also not like Marty, who bought 2 sets of dice, 30 years ago, and he's never updated them or replaced them. That's an exaggeration slightly, I'm sure, by the time, or almost certainly, because I think they're fairly new. But he didn't have to like color them in or anything, and he's not that old. He has 2 sets of dice. That's all I need. That's all he needs. Like, he's got a bunch of D6s, and other than that, it's like 2 sets of everything. And you don't need any more. And that's his philosophy. And I'm somewhere in between. I like to buy dice if they're really pretty and speak to me, and they fit the kind of colors I like, which I think is helpful if you don't want to develop a dice addiction. Just decide, I'm only going to buy pink and blue dice. I'm only going to buy purple and green, gray and black. That might be harder. You might get a lot of those. But, like white and something else, like gold. Pick very specific ones, and that way when you do see them, you get really excited about it. You're like, oh, these are so pretty. I had to search through a couple of the purple dice. I was like, ooh. Yeah, Garrett said Marty made his own dice out of Play-Doh and crayons. But yeah, and it's also nice for me. The purple is nice because one, it's one of my favorite colors. Purple and green are my favorite colors. That's why I do that. But the other thing is PAX Unplugged's color is purple, like on the PAX spectrum of well, they all have colors. I don't know what they are. I won't pretend to know what they are. I think South is orange. But PAX's colors are purple, so it's nice that I'm like, these are my PAX dice, and they just fit the general aesthetic. So I got those. Got a couple pins. The TRI pin, which I love this year. It's a cat with a Dungeon Master screen. It's a purple cat with a Dungeon Master screen, so it's triple up my alley. I really liked their die last year, or their pin last year. It was a flump, but I heard maybe they weren't supposed to be selling those, because flumps are maybe registered trademarks. Timothy was nice enough to get me this DM's Guild pin. I believe Lisa from the DM's Guild was giving them out. And he went to an event that she was at that was too early in the morning for me. I had to get on a train at like 7, and I was still very much asleep by then. And then Anna Prosser's new company, Cantrip, they had some really nice stuff, and I immediately felt it's gold and reflective, so it's a little hard to see. I immediately gravitated toward this symbol. Son of a bitch. It's okay. Everything's fine. The world's not ending. There was a shirt with this, and I actually wish I had gotten it. Maybe I'll order it online. But it's a very mystical looking symbol, and there's the D4 in the middle, and then all of the outside are the other dice shapes. And I just thought it was really rad. And they had a really other cool pin that was it was like a bouquet of D20s, and that looked really nice too. I got one of those for Cece because she was nice enough to get me a metal die, which hasn't made it out of my backpack yet, but I'm gonna put it over here with this is like my little tray of kind of display-y Dungeon and Dragon things. I have a Remoraz that Timothy painted me. I've got some of my old miniatures that I used to use. I got this D20 mug that my brother gave me. I have a very old school looking D20. I don't know where I got that, but it doesn't match any of my other dice, which is probably why it's over there. I don't have the set. So that's that. I got this coaster. It's got a dungeon map on it. I absolutely love it. Timothy got these from some Inkwell Ideas, I think. I emailed them today because I was like, do you sell these? Because I want these. Either just to use as coasters or to build a map out of them. I just adore this idea. Because dungeon mapping is hard. That's one of the reasons why I like adventures. They already drew the map for me. If I can just randomly build it, I can fill the rooms. It's the hard part's coming up with the shapes for me. Because I always feel like I just make the same ones. Yeah, it looks like an old school 2nd E map. Exactly, Garrett. It looks like, yeah, even basic maybe. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it is literally an old school map that someone copied and made onto a coaster. If it's from Undermountain or the Tomb of Horrors or something like that. It looks a little too big to be the Tomb of Horrors. The Tomb of Horrors is shockingly small. But it might be Undermountain. I haven't opened yet the Game Trade Magazine. I always get Game Trade Magazine because it's free. And it comes with free stuff. Japanime Games on the back. It's a little outside my taste. But I see a Captain America thing behind them. And I do love my Captain America. Oh, no. I was lied to. That's just the back cover. But I always like to get Game Trade Magazine again because it's free. At least at PAX. It does have a price on it normally. There's that. Here's one of my big purchases. I didn't spend a terrible amount of money this time. But I did go hard on Mothership. So, if you bought one book, you got the zine for free. So, I have Mothership in PDF, but it just... I haven't gone over it too bad. Jeez. I haven't gone too deep into it, but I read a little bit about it, and I was like, I just love this, and I keep watching reviews about it. I want to play it at some point. I might, after Call of Cthulhu's season is over, might see if they want to run a little Mothership. And apparently the zine is a little bonkers, kind of goofy, which I also like. The character name on the back is Ray Burtnolds instead of Burt Reynolds, which is just dumb and funny. And then these two are adventures One of them is Dead Planet. I think is that the one that's you end up in like a. I think it's that ships keep getting pulled out of hyperspace, and you end up in you end up in this weird system with like a bunch of derelict ships in it. And the absolute coolest thing about this is, one, there's like, here's a derelict ship generator, and you can roll, 1d100, and then you can do it for a bunch of times, and it'll give you a bunch of random things, random ship type, status, if it's like abandoned, that what caused it, what's weird about it, what the cargo is. So I was watching a review earlier where someone, like, it was a bunch of mutilated corpses, and they were shipping cosmetics, and it was like all body horror-y. So I immediately thought, like, I don't know, they did like some sort of something reacted with the cosmetics, and like it like melted their faces. So maybe they have like where like lipstick and like mascara and like eyeshadow would be, like their faces especially destroyed there. And then the other absolutely awesome thing here is, this is the map of a spaceship, the Duncan Murmur, and you roll dice and you build the spaceship, and then you correspond them to these numbers over here. I can do this. So when you roll a 1, it's something over here. When you roll a 5, it's something over here, and there's a little grid here, and you just build a random spaceship like that. And I think that's fucking awesome. Pardon my language. I'm not that sorry about it. But yeah, and it's this beautiful little zine. It's nice thick cardstock is the covers, so it folds open pretty okay, and it'll stay open, and it's nice and short, it's 46 pages, but it's got so much in there, and I love it, because I'm tired of giant role-playing game books, and I bought one, and I don't have time to read them all. Like, Call of Cthulhu is so big. It's so big. I know how to play 5th edition, but only because I learned how to play it when I had a lot more time. But yeah, where's the main rules, and I think this is technically beta, but I haven't heard anybody complain about it. The main rules are, let's see, 36 pages, and then a beautiful character sheet, which has like a bunch of lines on it that tell you how to create characters. A cheat sheet on the back, which is awesome. The weapon chart is in the front cover, so you just flip to that for all the weapon info. And I love the cover. It reminds me of Guy Davis, who drew a bunch of BPRD. And I met these guys. I met I don't know who was their representative at PAX, the guy I talked to. He was super friendly, super cool, super helpful. Talked to me about their game masters are called wardens. Talked to me about like their wardens program, and like how they send you swag. They send you this really cool patch if you run a game in public. And they said that next year they were gonna. I asked if anyone was running games here, and they said a couple people, but it was unofficially, like they reached out and were like, I'm gonna run a game, but that next year they were gonna try and run more games, like officially. And I was like, that sounded rad, and you'd maybe get a badge. So I was like, maybe instead of TRI, maybe I could do something a little more low-key and do something like Mothership or Games on Demand next year, and that would just be maybe just a little less stressful, because it's not going to be... I love Dungeons & Dragons, but when everybody loves Dungeons & Dragons, and, it's just a lot of vying for space and time, it gets stressful. So I'm really excited about all these. And they weren't terribly expensive. And I love they have old school module numbers up there. This is MRPG, Mothership role-playing game, M2, and this is M1. I like that. That's old school. It's classic. And it's a D100 roll under system, which I do like. I do like that, and it is my favorite part of Call of Cthulhu. I love that mechanic because it's not a D20 trying to get a high score. You're doing something different. I like that. Okay. Not too much more. I mentioned this earlier. Alone Against the Dark. It's a lot bigger than Alone Against the Flame because it's a bunch of adventures tied together. I'm really excited for this. Like I said, in the new year, I might start a mini campaign. I don't know how long it would take me. It might take me, well, it would probably take me all year if I do it once a week, at least. Or once a month, rather. Once a month. But I might do it twice a month. I'm going to have to see what the schedule looks like next year. We're about to take our break. And I'll have an announcement about that at the end. But a break I maybe need. My brain is dying. Now I'm just tired from PAX still. I am looking forward to the break, though, because I'm not burnt out or anything by any means, but it'll be nice for everyone to we don't have to worry about this. It's supposed to be fun. Everybody have fun with their families during the holidays. The holidays are stressful. You don't need to be worrying about this fun thing. So, okay. The last thing I got was Dark Matter. It's science fiction for Dungeons and Dragons. So, I did like the art. The cover's kind of like dark and like dark science fiction, and I was like, oh, maybe that's not quite. But then everybody's bright and colorful on the back, and let me see if I can find. Oh, and it's got that new book smell. I love new book smell. Yeah, like here's the goldfish we were kind of talking about earlier. Like you can play a goldfish. So I just turned to space sharks, sporezerkers, thwirls, which are psionic squirrels, thwirls. But then this terrifying giant space worm. Yeah, maybe I'll have to go through this. Man, there's a lot in here. Yeah, but then these guys are like, anime as hell. He kind of looks like the knight from Full Metal Alchemist. So, when I went over there the first time, there was a guy, and he was like, I was looking at the cover, because I was like, oh, I saw someone with it. I think I saw Scotty Hood with it when he came to talk to Ramrod for a bit. And I was like, oh, that looked neat. Like, I'll check it out when I'm on the floor. So I was alone on the floor, and I walked up to it. And I've heard of, like, Espergenesis, but I think that's a little more, like, serious. Like, that's more Starfindery, I think. Seems cool. Seems really cool. But, and I was thinking about getting it, but this caught my eye first. And I walked over, and I hadn't seen Espergenesis either all day. Pardon me. And, I walked over, and the guy's like, have you ever played Starfinder? And I was like, no. And he's like, Spelljammer? And I was like, Spelljammer? Yeah, I don't know if I said I run a Spelljammer campaign. I should have said I run a Spelljammer campaign. I'm an idiot. But I was like, yeah, I love Spelljammer. So we kind of started talking to me about that. But he was focusing on more, like, ships combat. And he was kind of saying, like, this is what our version of Spelljammer would be. And it was a little more science fiction-y than I wanted. And I was like, this sounds science fiction-y. Like, for Spelljammer, I want science fantasy. Not that I don't like science fiction. I love science fiction. I just talked about Mothership. I run Stars Without Number. I love science fiction. But it's not something I necessarily wanted. I was looking for. If it's going to be Spelljammer, I want it to be Spelljammer. So I was like, I'll think about it. And I walked away, and I didn't think about it. But then I came back, and Liz was with me, and somebody else was doing the pitch, and they talked about the little amoeba men, amoeboids, the goldfish and the diver suit, and like robot barbarians, and I was like, yeah, where was this pitch? And I was like, and I kind of hemmed and hawed about it for a couple minutes, and I was like, no, I want this. Like, this is cool. And they were really nice. Like, I just picked it up, and I haven't had a chance to look through it too much. But Mage Hand Press, I am very impressed. My second pun of the night, gross. I think they're I know they're the people who are responsible for the middle finger of Vecna, which was always a very good blog that always had a bunch of great stuff on it. Like, I bookmarked it once, and I was just like, I'll have to look through this, and I don't think I even got anywhere close to scrolling through all of it. It's so much stuff there. Wait, what are you doing, Liz? Sorry. I don't remember what I said. That got a boo. But yeah, and that was about the... and then I bought the cantrip pen, which I showed you earlier. But then that was Sunday. We finished walking around the floor, and yeah, those are all the things I got. I'm really excited about all of them. I can't wait to read them, especially like Mothership. Just because it will take me not that long to kind of oh, no puns. Yeah, sorry. My brain is melted, and therefore puns come out of it. I don't know why. I'm not usually a punny person. But anyway, that was my PAX Unplugged 2019 experience for the most part. I had a great time. I think it was by far the best year because I got to spend it with my friends. Panel-wise, last year was nice to see all those panels. But I just didn't see any this year, so I can't comment on them. But I'm going to watch a lot of them on YouTube later. If I can get that to work on my desk. And I heard the Ack Inc. game was great. That's what Twitter seemed to be saying. And I can't wait for next year. And hopefully D&D Presents has a live show there next year, because that would be awesome. I don't know if Chris Perkins will continue to come back to PAX Unplugged, because he skipped a year because that was the first. PAX Unplugged last year was the first time he didn't DM Acquisition Incorporated. That was the first year Jeremy Crawford did. So I don't know if Chris will come back next year, or if this was just I need to promote the new show. And I'm sure DMing in front of all these people is stressful. But I have a feeling it's less stressful for the weekly game than it is for the Acquisitions Incorporated, which is, holy shit, this happens 3 times a year and everyone's here. I imagine it's a lot. That's a lot. And he said it's a lot. And I can't even imagine. But next year, I hope that I can make it work with the new scheduling. I hope that the Philadelphia Marathon being that weekend, it doesn't negatively impact it. I don't remember it being too bad year one, but the con was so much smaller then that I can't even imagine what it would be like now if there was also another convention going on in that hall. And maybe there was. I don't know what was happening in the bottom of the one side. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope everyone who came this year can come again. I hope people who couldn't make it this year can go next year. I hope that I can manage my schedule better so that we can actually play a game, all of us in person. And that my brain doesn't melt by the end of it. But I think that will always happen. My voice is starting to hurt a bit because I've been talking nonstop for an hour and 10 minutes. So if anybody has any questions or anything else they would like me to address in chat, chime in and I will say something before I log off. Yeah, it was great. It was absolutely great to meet you, Liz. She says in chat that she hopes to make it again next year because she loved seeing and meeting everyone. And maybe by then I'll have new pins and I can hand out new cards. I'm gonna redesign those. Maybe the website too. But yeah, so let me. I'll see if chat has anything else to say, but let me start talking about what's happening at the end of the year. So, I have not confirmed this for sure yet. Still waiting for some Phantom Horizons people to chime in. But I think Episode 7 will be the last Phantom Horizons of the year. And I'm going to retroactively make it the last episode of the season so that the season ends on a cliffhanger. I might create a little video that kind of serves as a conclusion that explains what I'm going to do and what's going to happen to put into the playlist. But essentially, if we do it this way, we might still schedule the last episode. This is not set in stone yet. But the way it's looking right now, what's going to happen is Phantom Horizons was canceled by Fox one episode from the end because of a writer's strike. So, next season, in the new year, season 2, will begin 3 months later, and we'll learn what happened via flashbacks. Maybe it will have sock puppets. There was at some point where I found miniatures. Like, they were all, like, crappy, not good representation miniatures. They were, like, HeroClix and, like, Star Wars miniatures and stuff like that I was going to use to, like, reenact something. A la Chris Perkins and sock puppets. It will probably be more like this, but maybe I'll edit it together so it's a little more, like, jump cutty and kind of, I can't promise costumes, but maybe I can get, like, some kind of ridiculous visor. Sci-fi visor. A sci-visor. God damn it. I hate myself is the thing more than anything. So that's currently the plan for Phantom Horizons. Like I said, that's not set in stone, but I think that's what it's going to be just because everyone's schedule is getting complicated with the holidays, which is why we're taking a break. Because the other thing is Star Chasers is on Thursday this week, not Wednesday. So that will be the last Star Chasers episode of the year. It's called Just a Bunch of Runaways. And we'll hopefully have picked an intern by then. But also I might tell them they can pick it after we come back in the new year if they want. If they don't want to pick right now. But, so that's the plan. And then we're going to take, I think it ends up being 3 weeks off for the holidays. Might be 4. We'll be back in January. Let me see. We'll be back January 8th. So it's almost a month from the last Star Chasers episode. Give everyone a chance to recoup, recharge, have fun with their families. Gives me a chance to write ahead, which I love. And yeah. Did I show the sticker? It's really cute. I think that's it. I hope everyone enjoyed my PAX Unplugged retrospective recap and look forward. Yeah. I hope you all have a great night. Join us on Thursday for Star Chasers. And if not, I'll see everybody in the new year. Follow me on Twitter at Andy Hatton. But more importantly, follow the show at Laugh in Dragon, INN Dragon, because I am I am no longer going to post show announcements on my personal account. I'm going to do it all on the Laugh in Dragon Inn account, and my personal account will go back to probably being a little inactive. Not inactive. I still post on there, but it was for a long time the only thing that I was posting was Laughing Dragon Inn stuff. It will still be a lot of that. I'll retweet everything. But I'm going to try and do either a little... I'm going to make it more like my personal account again. I have the show account. I should use it like a show account. But yeah, that's it. If you had any questions about PAX or anything like that, hit me up on Twitter or Discord. If you're not my Discord friend, hit me up on Twitter, and I'll give you my Discord tag, because I use Discord a lot. So yeah, that's it. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye.